I just remembered to record the meeting, so whoever normally reminds me probably is not on the phone call. So, but if I don't remember to record the meeting, please remind me. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is just a little bit about the support site, because I have been editing these documents. Sugar has changed since when the original help documents were created. So when you want information, let's say a lot of people were setting up their funding streams. So for example, this 2.1, if you click that, see where I have a needs proofing? That means I'm not completely sure that I spelled everything correctly, that everything makes sense, all that. And it was wonderful. Jeff at when I was in Cortez noticed a few spelling errors, so he made some corrections. So here's how you set up your funding stream and I have an example of an RTT race to the top budget, and using that example, putting in I have a spreadsheet attached at the bottom, so you put your total asset funds in, and it walks you through. So, but the purpose of me bringing this up is down at the bottom, you can tell, if you find it helpful and understandable, you can say yes, but more importantly, if there's something wrong, you can say no, and then whether you need more information, it's difficult to understand, something's inaccurate, or there's a missing or broken link, and make sure you include specific comments. So it's very, very helpful when you go in here and read these and edit them. So I have gone through this recording coaching sessions. There's a lot that's changed with the requisitions and transfers, and I've done a little bit of editing, but there's like, and Sharon did a new article introducing requisitions and actions, but we still need proofing on these articles. Okay. So are there any questions on going into the articles and making comments? You can say no questions, either by audio or typing in a message, or if you want me to say something else. I do like to hear feedback some way, so I know that people are there.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
No questions.
No questions.
So I go often, and so if you miss a sugar support call on the weekend, can we assume, or Fridays, can we assume that this is the most updated way to do things? For example.
Yes, what Tina's question is, I don't know if you can hear her from across the room. She was asking on this the website if this is the most current way to do things, or the best way to do things. And actually, after I get it all edited, it will be. And again, if you go through all this outreach and enrollment to providers, rough drafts, and then recording coaching sessions is in rough draft stage, but I have to do the rest of them. Do you know how to get to the Friday calls?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody not know how to get to the Friday calls, or want me to go over that?
I just noticed that usually it's a week or two before they're loaded.
Yeah, sometimes I forget. Yeah. And so, yeah. Oh, please show me. All right, I love it when somebody says something. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm going to the top and going into forums. And down near the bottom of forums, so again, we were on solutions before. I clicked on forums. And down near the bottom is recorded webinars and training. So the Friday support calls there's a section, there's actually one with more details, but then the big one with Friday support calls is like, here's June 24th. We didn't have a call this last Friday because of the July 4th. And sometimes I will include just the video, and other times I will include notes as well. For example, when we went through reconciling last year's information, there was some specific reports. So they're here, right here. See the QI request status by Navigator. Lelania gave that to us, and then all spending by funding stream by status. Sharon gave that one to us. So if there are links, I'll try to put those in as well. But one of the things is that like often on Fridays, I'll have so many different meetings, and it takes about 4 hours to upload these webinars. So I'll forget or I don't have time. So don't hesitate. And actually I'll have Tina now be another reminder. So she can say, don't forget to put up the Friday support call. Because I do just need to remember, because I'll start recording it, I'll start uploading it, and then I'll just do lots of other things and forget. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad. Okay, so Teresa, oh, she said thanks already. I was going to ask you, was that okay? All right. Are there any questions on getting to the help documents? Okay, the race to the top, I've had probably about 10 contacts one way or another, is going to the race to the top and extending the race to the top from the 2016 deadline to the 2017 deadline. We have had the amendment approved, and there were some errors that when I was on the road, we were finding a few errors that I wanted to make sure that everything was corrected as much as possible before we sent that. And I'm going to ask you all to vote. Okay, so on the last call, we didn't have a lot of people there, and there were only 5 that voted. So the vote is, do you want us to automatically send out amendments, the amendment to any provider that has leftover coaching or leftover dollars? Okay, so what I'm going to talk about right after this is, just in case you want to move some funds, if they're left over, back into your pool, you still can do that. But once we send out these amendments, then then people will essentially know how much money, if they were to go to Colorado Shines, they can see how many coaching hours they have left and how much dollars they have left. So I'm a little bit hesitant to do it for everybody unless everybody here says yes. Otherwise, then I'll have you all say who wants to do it. So could you all vote right now if you want us to automatically send the Race to the Top amendment to everybody that has leftover coaching and dollars? Go ahead and just type in.
Can they see coaching hours or just?
Or if anybody wants to discuss it too.
Yeah, this is left.
Who is this?
Coaching is the only one.
Yeah, because they.
Yeah. Okay.
Last race to the top, they already knew what they got, so it wouldn't be a conflict of interest necessarily. It's just the coaching. Not the spending, just the coaching.
Yeah, let's. I'm going to show you how folks see their coaching hours. So I'm going to go into Salesforce. Oops, that's wrong.
No, because some counselors, they're cool at, we did in the first go around the cash amount, we didn't, but the coaching, we liked it.
I'm going to see if Bill's child care test has any. Okay, so once I hit go to the dashboard, it's going to look like what your providers see. And you hit quality improvement.
You can change it. I know why. Oh, because you're using my GoToMeeting account.
Okay, I got no thank you for almost everybody has said no thank you, that we don't want to send the automatic in, so not at this time. Okay, so okay, so the second question would be, do you want me just to let you know that it's available and then tell you the steps on when you want to do it to send your the amendments? Okay, so.
And what happens if
No.
you don't send the amendment MOU and it doesn't come back? They won't
They
be
still, I don't know, yeah,
will they still be able to spend the funds down in ECConnect, or will it stop it until the MOU comes back?
we can probably change the settings on that. So we'll do it until the MOU comes back. So they can't. Somebody.
So this is Karen. So right now, all the statuses of the requisitions are still unapproved. So as long as their spending deadline has not been passed, then they can still see that information in ECConnect. However, it's sort of a mismatch because their executed MOU ended June 30th. So what would be best is if you update the spending deadline on the requisition after they have an executed amendment in place. So right now, unless you went in and changed the spending deadline for those sites, they cannot see their requisitions in ECConnect for Race to the Top because their spending deadline had passed. So in any case, you have to do something. So the something that we're recommending doing is that you send the amendment, you have them sign that, and then you update the spending deadline to whatever the spending deadline is that you'd like to give that site for their Race to the Top dollars. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we'll create a help document for them, I think. So it's more. Yeah. So essentially, what they'll have to do is send the amendment and update which date is it?
The spending deadline on the requisition.
Okay.
Same as the expiration?
I think it's called expiration date.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Tina just asked, was it at the expiration date? Okay, expiration date on the application?
On the requisition.
Oh, requisition, okay.
Now, coaching requisitions don't have that same kind of restriction, so you can continue using those coaching hours, but just remember you don't have a signed agreement in place with those providers unless you have an amendment. Did
you hear the question, Sharon? I don't know if you came on a little bit late. Can you do log coaching details while the requisition's still in preliminary and waiting for MOUs to be signed?
So technically you can, but it's sort of discouraged unless you're doing it really intentionally. So you ultimately you want to have your agreement in place before you start coaching, but sometimes there are things that happen, like, you know, they're imminently rating, or they have a licensing, you know, concern or something like that, where you really just need to get in there and start coaching. So it is allowed. The system won't stop you from doing it, but you want to have that agreement in place as soon as possible.
Okay, so technically you can, but be very intentional and have agreement in place as soon as possible. Did I capture your thought, Sharon?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, do other people sort of agree with that? I mean, you know, that's sort of the standard practice, is that you always want to have an agreement in place with the site before you start doing work or allow them to spend any QI funds.
Yeah, Katie chimed in. There's just a lag between getting the paperwork completed, and she appreciates you for chiming in. She did say she figured it out that you could do it, so that was one of the questions. Nicole added a comment. I'm just going back up the comments. Sugar allowed me to enter a coaching detail using a requisition that has been the status of approved pending MOU. In the past, we have attached coaching details to the coaching pooled coaching as well.
Yeah, so now instead of attaching coaching to the pooled coaching requisition, that wasn't very encouraged previously, and so really what you want to do is attach to the actual site requisition, because otherwise you kind of lose easy reporting on what that particular site is receiving for coaching. You can get to it, but it's harder to see. So the best thing to do would be to transfer those coaching hours to that site's coaching requisition from the pooled requisition.
Okay, if they've already done it, the pooled, but you're recommending not to attach coaching to the pooled requisition anymore.
Right. I think that was never something that we had anticipated people were really going to be doing, but I believe that part of the development has not allowed you to do that anymore going forward.
Okay. So
we can verify.
Can you see my screen? And did I get your point correctly again?
Yeah, I think so. So the idea is that, you know, if you know you're going to be coaching for a site, then you would just go in, see if they have enough coaching hours. If they don't have enough coaching hours, go through whatever process in your council, like if the coach needs to get pre-approval before they overcoach a site or something like that, go through that process. And then on the requisition itself, just select an action to transfer additional coaching hours to that requisition. And then as long as you have those hours available in your pool on your funding stream, then that transfer will go through and you can complete you can schedule and complete the coaching.
Okay, cool. Okay, Nicole said, I'm scrolling up and I'm not sure if, Nicole, you have a note that, and I'm not sure what this is in reference to. It says maybe it would be good to see the process in a future Friday call once it's ready. Are you talking about the amendment? Because I think that's what it was. But if you could either type in or put your voice on and tell me which you were talking about. Oh, how to send amendments. Okay. So next week. Okay, so future call, Friday call, well, probably next Friday. Oh, next Friday we have the TA day, so the next call that we got. So next sugar call, do sending amendments and updating expiration date. Yeah, next week we don't have a sugar call because we have the membership meeting and the TA day from the state. Okay.
So the amended MOUs are not preloaded like the new, the top of 2016, 17 MOUs?
The question that Tina had, that the amended, the Race to the Top MOU amendment, is that going to be preloaded? And yes, that will be preloaded. Before we did that, I just had to,
For what?
the Race to the Top amendment, but we'll need to take you through the steps.
So Rick, would you mind just pulling up an application record and we can show people what you mean? So when you go into an application record, you can send the MOU, and that's what we've all been very familiar with doing. But in addition to being able to send an MOU, you can also send an MOU amendment. And so when Rick is saying it's preloaded into Sugar, that's not saying we're automatically sending it out, because it sounds like nobody wants us to do that.
Okay.
It's saying that it's available to you if you select the action Send MOU Amendment on the Race to the Top application record.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, because I on the back end, I have to go into a program that I'm still learning, that Sharon is training me on. It's called ECCLA, to upload all the sort of standard MOUs. But what she's talking about is this action to send the MOU amendment on your application. So you'll have to do that when we get, after I upload the document and then we send you the notice that everything's okay, then you'll go through here and click Send MOU Amendment.
Right. So the same as sending an MOU.
Yeah, it's the same as sending an MOU.
Yeah. But they're not loaded.
Yep, and so I think just to clarify too, so Rick will send out some guidance on here's how you know who to send an MOU amendment to for Race to the Top, because you don't want to send it to everybody. You only want to send it to people who have remaining coaching hours or QI funds that they're planning on using in the next fiscal year. So you know, we don't want to you don't want to just blanket send it to all Race to the Top participants. You only want to send it to a targeted group of providers. So that's why we were kind of offering to do that on behalf of everyone, so that it was a little faster. But you know, it sounds like people want to be able to do that themselves.
Yeah, it does sound that way, but that's a very important thing not to forget in our instructions, is who to send it to.
Yeah.
Don't want to send an MOU to everyone.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just while we're sort of on that topic, you know, we know that there are a lot of reports in Sugar, and we are trying to strategize around how to make it easier to find the report you're looking for, you know, through all the clutter of many, many reports, because people can add their own reports at any time. And at this time, everybody sees all those reports unless you really explicitly change the team to just your team, your council team. So we need to figure out a way to make reports easier for you to find the right report. And because we've done a lot of new development around requisitions and funding streams, there are a lot of fields that have very similar names that allow us to roll up important information to the funding stream record, but are a little bit confusing when it comes to the reports. And so we're working on a way to name those fields more clearly, so you can tell, oh, this field exists for external coaching hours only for purposes of rolling up to the funding stream, as opposed to this is a field I really want to pay attention to because this is the hours remaining, you know, that I'm interested in. And so, you know, we will be sort of strategizing on that in the next couple of weeks and trying to do some cleanup on reports. So if you notice anything like that, you know, you're welcome to let us know if there's a particular report that you used to love using, but now it's confusing, or, you know, something like that. Let us know, and we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, tell us about reports that need to be updated. Yeah, I've gotten in that trap too with getting confused from the reports, because I think, Sharon, on the last call you said there's over 400 reports, and so just trying to find the right report and finding the right data. And now that everything's changed, well, not everything, but that a lot has changed, especially in those areas of coaching hours and other things like that, it's just a real big challenge. So that'd be great if you and I can work on that.